Inside Michigan Football is presented by Meijer. Hi again, friends, and welcome to another season of Inside Michigan Football. Doug Karsh alongside the two-time captain, the All-American, the national champion, John Jansen. And John, we're excited to get into the football, which is right around the corner, but there was news last week on the NCAA investigation. Yeah, it was the investigation, and we're not going to address it here. We're going to talk all about football. I did address it on the podcast, so if you want to see my opinions on it, my analysis of it, go to MGO Blue Podcast with John Jansen. Find the In the Trenches, and I address everything that Michigan was penalized with. But right now, we want to actually talk about real football coming up this season. And it is coming up very quickly. And a lot of excitement about this team, and, you know, young quarterback is grabbing all the headlines. He is, and what I've seen from him from spring to fall camp, it's been a nice progression. Every time he comes out here, there's something better that he's doing. Maybe he's a little bit more calm with his feet, a little bit more accurate with the ball. Early on, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, right? He's sailing a couple of balls, and he's throwing them, 100 miles an hour to a guy that's 5 yards away. Now he's starting to show some touch. He's starting to show and some leadership out there as well, which is what he's going to have to do if he wins that job. So Bryce Underwood, the new quarterback, there is a new offensive coordinator in Chip Lindsey, his first year in Ann Arbor, and he talks about what the young kid brings to the table.
Yeah, I think the surprise for me, football knowledge really high for a 17-year-old high school kid that just got here. Pretty impressive. Now, learning our terminology and why we call certain things, and so forth, there's been some learning process there. But guy's a football junkie, and really he's here early and stays late and loves to study football, and this is a good place to do that.
And protecting the quarterback is a top priority. The offensive line hopes to return to form after a disappointing 2024.
This O-line has to be how we were our last 3 games throughout the whole season, because that's when we played our best football. And, of course, be better than last year. You always want to get better every year. And I think we will do it. We're chasing that Joe Moore. We're chasing being the best O-line in the country, and we could do that.
So let's get to John's favorite topic, offensive line play, and you're hoping that it steps up this year. I am. It needs to be more consistent. I do want to show a little bit on JansenVision what we're doing this year and talk a little bit more about some of the techniques. We're going to use some of the pass rush techniques here. We've got a left guard going against Rayshawn Benny, and I want you to watch right here. This is exactly where you want the hands to be. They're going to be tight on the numbers, and it doesn't matter if they get off. Sometimes you're going to have to replace it. Gio does a good job of that here, but what I also want you to watch is this left foot. So right hand, left foot, keep your eyes right there. And you saw right there, he gets his hand outside of him, replaces it, but this foot here, as he starts to get pushed, that's going to be the leg that has to anchor. Slips a little bit, but does a really nice job. We're going to continue to go here. Now we're going to go right guard. Great job here initially on the set, but as you can see, the defensive lineman got to the edge. Anytime he gets to the edge, that's not where you want to be. So the initial set was good, but you see his inside leg is dropped back and it's deeper than his right leg. Can't do that because then it leads to him getting to the edge. And as soon as he gets to the edge, it's the easiest path to the quarterback on the inside. This one here, as we see him set, you see the nice line right here. He sets on there. It doesn't have to be physical. All it has to be is a path around the quarterback. Now, what I do want to talk about, Doug, and I'm going to use you as my dummy, all right? I told you I had something special for you. So you're lined up as a defensive lineman. I'm standing here. If I can up or hand
your
up?
Stand doesn't matter.
Right.
It really won't matter. Right. When you are in that position, you're covering me up. I could touch you. I don't want to step back. I'm going to step right at you. Go ahead and move out just a little bit. So outside, just right there in his initial stance. Okay, so now you're not touching me. I've got 2 things to do. We just saw Sprague set back here. And as you come, all right, now I'm just going to set right here, let you come to me. But I've been talking about the change-up pitch. You've heard me use that term, right? The jump set. So when I'm in my stance, instead of setting back, if I can't touch him, every once in a while, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to give him a pop. Right in the chest. But I make sure that my left foot is still ahead of my right foot because that's the path to the quarterback. If I go back like this, now all of a sudden you got a clean path to the quarterback and I better hustle. It's no bueno. You okay?
I think that was unnecessary roughness.
That's a different podcast.
Still to come, John Jansen sits down with Sherrone Moore and we'll talk more Michigan offense. Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meijer, presenting sponsor of the 2025 Michigan football season and proud supporter of hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Michigan Medicine, There's a difference between an answer and a Michigan answer. To find your Michigan answer, visit michigananswers.com.
This camp has been real competitive, and as a team, I feel like we've been playing real fast, offense and defense, and just give you a great feeling going into the season.
We have so many guys that can go in there and make a play. Like, we've been rotating so much in practice because we have so many guys in the room. Like, there's a lot of guys that can go out there and just make a play.
In life, you gotta love doing the hard things because the hard things are just gonna give you the results that you want to do, that you want, and we want great results as a team, and the work is the work. We gotta put in the work.
We're way more explosive than last year. We can do everything, and it really excites me to see that we have so many guys that are making plays, not just the first string guys that go out there, but the young guys. Everybody's making plays.
All right, talking about the Michigan skill positions, the little bit that I've seen at practice, you know what I've seen the pass catchers do more? Make contested catches. I think of Fred Moore in the ReliaQuest Bowl, that kind of catch, I've seen more of that out here against what should be a really good defense.
It is going to be a good defense, and when you have got a guy with the height of a Donovan McCulley, I've heard the coaches refer to him a little bit like a Nico Collins, that guy that can go up and get the ball, has a big catch radius. You're going to have that, but last year, that's the one thing we didn't have is those contested catches. And if you can win more than you lose in those, and sometimes come away with a pass interference, that'll be just as good as a catch.
Tight ends coach Steve Kasula has to replace Colston Loveland, who could make a contested catch, but he said last week he's got 6 guys that he thinks he can rely on. Meanwhile, in the backfield, there's kind of 2 guys, 1A and 1B at the top, and then there's some depth at the running back spot.
It is. It's going to be fun because there's talent at the running back spot. There's a couple of guys back there that one might be a little bit better punching it inside, one might be a little better punching it outside. They can both do it, but if you're looking for differences, there's going to be some of those in how they utilize it.
All right, we'll talk some defense coming up here on Inside Michigan Football.
Defensively, I think our best goal that we talked about, and the players were talking about it, is that you shouldn't be able to tell what 11's on the field. And, that's a goal that we're striving for. We're not there. We're not even close to being there yet, but we will be.
Martindale's defense is expected to be good again, despite 3 huge losses to the NFL. For the Maize and Blue, it all begins up front.
Talent, depth, just raw size, different skill sets. I feel like we're more cohesive. If we build on what we got right now, we're going to be a way more cohesive group, playing off of each other and things like that. So I'm excited to see how we go.
The linebacking core might be the best in America, and the secondary is talented despite its lack of experience in spots.
We're all close. It doesn't matter from the guys that transferred in, from the young guys that just got here, and the older guys are still there. I feel like we're all a tight-knit group, and we all love ball and all want to win.
So as we talk Michigan defense, we know the Wolverines lost a lot to the NFL, but if you want to know what this year's defense might look like, it was last year's group that played against Alabama in the ReliaQuest Bowl. That was pretty much it.
It was, and I sat down with Wink earlier, and he was talking about breaking it down and building it up from the base. I asked him why you do that. Why don't you just start where you finished? And he said, because guys are going to have different skill sets. They're going to have developed some new things. You're also going to have guys that didn't play last year step in. So you got to figure out what they do best, coach to them, and now all of a sudden the defense comes together. It's going to be a really good defense. There's going to be some changes in there, but it's a really deep defense, especially in that front 7.
Seems like every year Michigan just rolls through another great defensive lineman or 2, and it's become edge rusher. So we take a look at JansenVision.
Yeah, and this one I just want to show you in regards to Dom Nichols here playing the run and creating separation. Doug, I've talked about hand placement a lot, and I want you to watch this hand right here. It's going to shoot right inside that armpit, and when it does, it creates that separation. See that right there? Now, what they're going to try to do is get that hand off. He wants to push it up, get back into his numbers, but when he doesn't, that creates the separation. He's able to come in right there to make the play. So it's all about hand play. You can have great footwork, you can have great balance, but if you can't use your hands, you're not going to be able to play at this level.
We'll hear from the head coach, Sherrone Moore, when we continue on Inside Michigan Football. Our conversation with the coach is brought to you by Meijer.
There's different landmarks. There's spring ball, there's summer conditioning, 7-on-7, all that stuff is cute. And then you get to fall camp. Now we get to put the entire off season behind us. How excited are you to just play football?
I feel like I'm 10 years old and I'm about to go downstairs and it's Christmas. Phenomenal time. It's been an outstanding camp and it's been physical, it's been fun. We've grown together as a team within each unit, between each side of the ball and as a whole team, so just super excited to see where we're at.
Offensive line. I know part of it's developing depth, but the most important part is finding those 5 guys that give you the best chance to win. Where are you guys in finding those 5 guys?
Yeah, pretty close. I feel like the battle at left tackle is still going. Evan's probably got the slight heads up right now with experience and what he's done, but Blake Frazier's a guy that's really coming on his own, and Andrew being down, we're praying for him and making sure he'll be healthy and about this time next year and ready to go. But with Blake there, really pushing and really setting the standard for what it looks like with the want to in the field, especially with the history of his background and where he's from and always being a Michigan man. He's really pushing Evan. And then the other spot is probably right guard, and it's neck and neck with Nate Afobe and Brady Norton right now. Jake Gunnera's in there at center and working there, but I think those two right now are fighting for that final spot, and we're pretty close.
Before we talk about the skilled guys, let's talk about Chip Lindsey. What have you seen from him in his offense? Is this still going to be a run-first, smash-mouth offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think the identity of who we are is not going to change, but how we do it will be a little different. I think, and that always adapts with the changes of personnel you have, and that's really how you have to change is the people that you have on your team, whether it's the guys up front, quarterback, the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs. So it's going to look a little different, but the identity of who we are and what we do will be the same. Then obviously, I'll have a little piece in it of things that I want to see, and if there's a time we need to run the ball, we're going to run the ball. But we're definitely, the balance is the number one thing, but we're going to do whatever we can to win. And he has really, showed us that whatever it takes to win on whatever game, that's what we're going to do.
Who has stepped up in that wide receiver room to that you can trust to help win games?
Yeah, I mean, the number one guy is number one, Donovan McCulley. He's been a great playmaker throughout camp, throughout spring ball. He showed it. The summer cycle, he just continued to progress, and then fall camp, he's been outstanding. Samaj Morgan's really stepped up his game. He might be a smaller guy, but he doesn't play that way. He's played physical. And then there's just a bevy of guys. You talk about Fred Moore, you talk about Andrew Marsh, you talk about Channing Goodwin. Channing Goodwin is really a guy who's really taken the next step that we wanted to see and really pushing everybody else to. He could be a starter on game one, a guy like that. And then Jamar Browder, all those guys. So the group is pretty deep and really excited about it.
The backfield, is that a 1A, 1B situation? And after you talk about that, what type of depth are you developing at the running back position?
Yeah, completely agree. Those two, any would be comfortable at either one of those guys starting or in the game or at any point in the game, whether it's in the run, protection, and whether it's a downhill run, a perimeter run, you feel good about both those guys doing it. So it's a great group. And then, to add along guys like Bryson Cudsdale and Micah Capana, and then the freshman Jasper Parker, who's really taken the next step to compete to be that third back. It's a room that's got great depth.
I know you said you're not going to announce the starter at the quarterback position until game week. And so how have you seen that competition, and have you guys seen those guys step up and compete in the quarterback room?
Yeah, I feel like the quarterback play here is in a great spot right now. And all those guys have pushed each other, but they're all root for each other, which is really cool to watch it, because in a competition like that, to be the Michigan starting quarterback, it's easily to get spiteful and vindictive. And the guys have really pushed each other, but they congratulate each other on their highs, and they try to lift up everybody on their lows, and it's been really cool to watch.
All eyes are on Bryce Underwood.
Yep.
What have you seen off the field and on the field just about his development?
First of all, his physical prowess of, he got here, I think, at like 212, 215, and he's like 230, 228 right now. So, and he's 6'4", so a dude that, he looks the part. I mean, he looks like an outside linebacker edge. So that's the first piece. But second, I think the mental game, because he has the arm talent, he has the ability to make all the throws, but the mental piece of understanding his progressions and when to throw the ball away, when to make sure you don't take a sack. Those things are really, he's progressed. And as a leader, as a guy that guys want to play for, kind of has that aura about him that guys want to do that. So it's been fun to watch him.
On the other side of the ball, the thing I keep hearing and seeing is the rotation up front.
Yeah.
Is depth Is this the best depth you've seen in a while on that defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, it's eerily similar to 21, where I felt like we had a lot of guys. 23, obviously, we did. But, you know, I had a great conversation with Wink the other day, and he's just like, it's like you don't have a depth chart. You have a whole bunch of guys, and whoever practices the best, they start, but everybody's going to play. And I'm like, oh, I'm okay with that. The whole group, man, it's a fun group. It's a fun group to watch. It's a fast, it's a physical group, it's a violent group.
Linebackers, it looks to me like it could be the most talented group in college football. Do you see that potential there? Yeah,
it'd be pretty difficult for me to find a group of 4 guys that are going to play harder, are going to play faster, are going to play with more discipline than those, you know, the 4 that we have. You know, Jay, Sean, and Ernie, they've just taken the next steps in their game. And then Jimmy and Cole, man, those guys have been. You don't feel that much of a difference with those guys in the game. They play multiple things, do multiple roles, so it's fun to watch.
The secondary, the talent level that you're going to have at the safety position or at the defensive back position.
Yeah, great talent. You know, Suge and Zeke, you know, they'll start out, but you got guys like JoJo Edmond and Shamari Earls, Caleb Anderson, you know, in the backup corner spots to help them and pushing those guys to start. And then safeties, you know, Brandon Hillman, he's a tone setter. You hear him, but he backs it up. And then TJ Metcalf is a guy that's really come out and taken the reins on that. Mason Curtis is another guy who's really done a great job for us. And, you know, obviously bringing back Rod Moore and putting him in the fold. And Jaden Mangum was another guy who's, you know, so that room has a lot of depth and a lot of guys that we can count on in big games.
Some veterans on the special teams. Let's start with Dom Zavada in regards to just him being back and knowing that there's a certain point you get on the field, you really feel like you got points.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking with him the other day. I was like, I think if we cross the 50, we might have points because I'm pretty sure he hit like a 67 or 68, may have been 70-yarder in the stadium, just messing around. So the guy's got an unbelievable leg, but he's got an unbelievable competitive edge to him. You know, people think kickers, they think a certain way, and he's just another football player ready to go. You know, Coach JB does a great job with him.
Is there anything that you can share about the message to the team, either in the locker room before the game or Friday night before you guys play New Mexico?
Yeah, the number one thing I'm going to say is play for your family, play for the team, play for Michigan, play for all the people that wore the numbers before you. That's been a big thing for us is understanding, you know, if we want to know where we want to go, but we got to know where we came from and understand that there's people that have wore the number 19, 2, 22, 23, 77 before you, because I know all those former players, IU, are watching those guys on game day, so we want to make sure that they understand that.
Coach, thanks for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Go Blue.
Welcome back. The Rose Bowl Legacy Foundation recently honored Michigan when they dedicated the 1902 East-West statue to honor the first postseason college football game. Michigan beat Stanford 49-0. The game would be renamed the Rose Bowl and become the granddaddy of them all. The organization also dedicated a historical marker to Coach Bo Schembechler, a 1993 inductee into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. Bo led the Wolverines to 10 Rose Bowl games in his 21 years as head coach. The marker is placed next to tunnel number 21 at the stadium.
To identify him and put a marker up in his honor in this way, I just think is a fitting tribute to his impact on college football, on Michigan, and on the Rose Bowl.
Hallowed ground, Pasadena, a rich Michigan tradition there, including the last time we were there when Michigan beat Alabama in the national semifinals and quarterfinal games that we played in Pasadena this year.
Yeah, I mean, to think about Bo being there and the history that Michigan has had, and the national championships, you know, that 97 one obviously ended at the Rose Bowl. We know that there was a semifinal game in 23 and the moments that we shared in the Rose Bowl. Great history for Michigan there, and hopefully this year it's part of that path to another national championship.
All right, so opener, New Mexico, coming to Ann Arbor. What are some things on the John Jansen checklist you'd like to see?
Well, it's going to be the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing I probably have said the last decade. It's going to be penalties. You can't have pre-snap penalties, and that's alignment. It's personnel groups. You got to have 10 on the field. Can't have 12 on the field. You got to have 11. And it's snap count. A lot of those things. It's communication on the sidelines. I'm glad we're getting a chance to start against New Mexico, iron some of those things out, and they need to be done because you got a big one coming up the week after.
Well, we'll be back next week here on Inside Michigan Football to recap the game against the Lobos and preview Michigan and Oklahoma. So long. Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meyer, presenting sponsor of the 2025 Michigan football season, and proud supporter of hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest.